The ultimatum. The massive crystalline spires of the Galactic Council headquarters glittered against the backdrop of twin orange suns. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle, her dark eyes reflecting the alien landscape below. At 43, with streaks of silver in her black hair, she was Earth's most decorated diplomat, though few knew her true role extended far beyond diplomacy. "Prepare for docking," announced the pilot. Atmospheric composition confirmed compatible with human physiology. Maya straightened her Navy uniform, emblazoned with the United Earth insignia, a simple blue sphere embraced by olive branches. 10 years of negotiations had led to this moment. Humanity's formal petition to join the Galactic Council after decades of limited contact. The shuttle settled onto the landing platform with barely a tremor. As the airlock cycled, Maya's second-in-command, Dr. Raj Patel, leaned close. "Remember, whatever they offer, we stick to the plan," he whispered. Maya nodded almost imperceptibly. Their mission parameters were clear: assess, engage, but commit to nothing without Earth's consensus. The stakes were too high for unilateral decisions. The welcoming delegation waited beyond the airlock. 5 species representing the Council's Executive Committee. At their center stood High Arbiter Zexalia, a towering avian being with iridescent plumage and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "Captain Chen." Zexalia's voice resonated through the translator. "The Council welcomes Earth's representatives. Your journey across 17 light-years honors us." Maya performed the formal greeting she practiced for months. Right hand open at heart level, left hand extended palm up. "High Arbiter, Earth thanks the Council for this audience. We come seeking understanding and cooperation." The formalities continued as they processed through the Grand Concourse, a soaring hall lined with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Maya noted how many fell silent as the human delegation passed, their expressions ranging from curiosity to unmistakable unease. The diplomatic courts had briefed her extensively on the Council's structure: 5 founding species who controlled the executive functions, 47 senior members with voting rights, and over 300 associate species with observer status. Humanity sought associate membership as a starting point. In the Council chamber, Maya delivered Earth's prepared address. She spoke of humanity's journey, from divided nations to unified planet, from fossil fuels to fusion power, from orbital stations to their first extrasolar colonies. Earth brings innovation, resilience, and a unique perspective to the galactic community, she concluded. "We ask only for fair consideration and the opportunity to prove our value." The Council's response was polite but measured. They would consider Earth's petition. There would be assessments, evaluations, the standard protocols for emerging spacefaring civilizations. It was exactly what Maya had expected, on the surface. That night, in her assigned quarters, Maya activated the quantum-encrypted communicator hidden in her personal effects. Initial contact proceeded as anticipated. Council presentation matched intelligence briefings. "We'll update after tomorrow's private session." The next morning brought the first deviation from protocol. Instead of the full Council, Maya found herself directed to a smaller chamber where only High Arbiter Zexalia and representatives from 2 other executive species waited. "Captain Chen," Zexalia began, "what we discuss now is not for public record." Maya felt the subtle shift in atmosphere. "I understand, High Arbiter. Your species has progressed remarkably fast, perhaps too fast." And there it was, the concern Earth's intelligence had detected in intercepted Council communications. "The Council has observed humanity for over 2 centuries, continued Drultok, a silicon-based being whose crystalline form refracted light in hypnotic patterns. Your technological development curve is concerning. Concerning." Maya kept her tone neutral despite the implied threat. "From internal combustion to viable fusion in less than 300 years. From atmospheric flight to FTL travel in less than 2 centuries. No other known species has achieved this without assistance." Maya chose her words carefully. Earth's history has been shaped by competition and necessity. We adapt quickly. Too quickly, interjected the third council member, a gelatinous entity named Morth whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. It destabilizes the balance. Zexalia leaned forward. Captain Chen, we will be direct. The council exists to maintain order. Species are integrated gradually, their development guided to ensure compatibility with galactic civilization. Guided, Maya repeated, understanding exactly what remained unsaid. For the greater good, Zexalia confirmed. Your petition for membership requires adjustments to your development trajectory. Over the next hour, the true purpose of the meeting became clear. The Council wasn't offering membership, they were demanding surrender. Earth would dismantle its independent military. Human colonies would accept Council oversight. Technological research would proceed only with approval. In exchange, humanity would receive protection and guidance. And if Earth finds these terms unacceptable, Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Then Earth remains isolated, Dreltok stated. No trade, no cultural exchange, no access to Council territories, which comprise 97% of charted space, Maya noted. Correct. Zexalia's feathers shifted in what Maya's training suggested was satisfaction. However, isolation carries risks. Unaffiliated worlds sometimes attract unfortunate attention. The threat couldn't have been clearer. Accept subjugation or face potential elimination. I will convey your terms to Earth's government, Maya said, maintaining her diplomat's composure despite the fury building inside her. We expect your answer within one standard cycle, Zexalia concluded. Back in her quarters, Maya immediately contacted Earth, using the highest encryption protocols. Operation Cassandra confirmed, she reported, using the codename for the worst-case scenario they had prepared for. Council intentions hostile, requesting activation of Phase 2. The response came instantly. Phase 2 authorized. Proceed with extraction protocol. Maya had expected this outcome. For years, Earth's deep space probes had detected patterns in Council behavior toward non-member species. Several promising civilizations had simply disappeared from the galactic stage after declining Council guidance. Others had accepted membership only to find themselves reduced to client states, their resources extracted, and their populations controlled. Earth had prepared accordingly. That night, while the Council believed the human delegation was considering their ultimatum, Maya accessed the central database using credentials provided by an unnamed ally, a Council species quietly resistant to the Executive Committee's methods. What she found confirmed their worst fears. For millennia, the Council had systematically suppressed emerging civilizations, particularly those showing rapid advancement. Species that might one day challenge the established order were either absorbed and controlled or eliminated entirely. The Council didn't seek members, it sought subjects. Maya downloaded everything: historical records, military capabilities, defensive systems, and most crucially, the locations of other independent species who had refused Council dominance. As she worked, an alert flashed on her device. Council security had detected the unauthorized access. Time was running out. Dr. Patel, she calmed her second-in-command, execute Nightfall Protocol. Throughout the diplomatic compound, carefully planted devices activated, creating cascading system failures in the Council's monitoring networks. Maya had 20 minutes at most. She made her way to the shuttle bay through service corridors mapped during their arrival. The rest of the Earth delegation would be creating diplomatic incidents as distractions, staged arguments, medical emergencies, anything to divide the Council's attention. At the shuttle, Dr. Patel waited with 4 other team members. The rest are maintaining cover, he reported. They'll claim we went rogue. The Council won't believe it, but it might buy us time, Maya replied, initiating the launch sequence. Alarms wailed as the shuttle broke from its moorings. Council security vessels were already mobilizing, but Maya had counted on this too. She activated a quantum transmitter that sent a single encoded burst toward Earth space. Within moments, 3 vessels appeared at the edge of the system, Earth warships that had been waiting cloaked since before the delegation's arrival. Their sudden appearance shocked the Council forces long enough for the shuttle to reach them. Captain Chen to Defender Squadron. Maya transmitted. Nightfall protocol active. Cover our withdrawal. The Earth vessels moved with surprising speed and coordination, deploying countermeasures that confused Council targeting systems. By the time the Council organized an effective response, the human ships had already initiated their FTL drives. As they accelerated away, Maya looked at the data she'd risked everything to acquire. The Council had underestimated humanity in one crucial aspect. Earth had never been as isolated as they believed. For decades, human intelligence had operated throughout Council space, establishing networks, gathering information, and most importantly, building alliances with other species chafing under Council rule. The Council had just made the most significant miscalculation in its millennia-long history. They thought they were offering an ultimatum to a vulnerable, solitary species. Instead, they had declared war on humanity, and humanity had been preparing for this moment far longer than they could imagine. The Reckoning. 3 weeks after their escape from Council space, Maya stood before the United Earth Security Council in the underground complex beneath Geneva. The chamber, designed to withstand even orbital bombardment, housed representatives from all Earth nations and colonies. The Council has issued a formal condemnation of Earth for espionage and theft of classified information, she reported. They've suspended all diplomatic channels and implemented a full quarantine of human space. As expected, nodded Secretary General Amara Okafor, her weathered face grim. And their military posture. They're mobilizing, but cautiously. Our intelligence suggests they're surprised by our level of preparation. They expected panic or immediate capitulation. Admiral Zhang, Earth Defense Force Commander, studied the tactical displays. How long until they reach our outer defensive perimeter? At their current pace, 2 months, Maya answered. But they're still gathering allies and resources. They won't attack until they believe victory is assured. Then we accelerate Project Exodus, declared Okafor. All non-essential populations to the sanctuary worlds immediately. Project Exodus had begun years earlier when Earth first suspected the Council's true nature. Beyond the known galactic lanes, in regions the Council considered uninhabitable, humanity had established hidden colonies, worlds shielded by experimental technology that masked their energy signatures. What about the Outsider Alliance? Asked Director Liang of Earth Intelligence. Maya brought up the data she'd extracted from Council archives. 7 species have successfully resisted Council control. 3 have expressed interest in formal alliance with Earth. The others remain cautious but open to coordination. And the Arcturian transmissions? Okafor pressed. Confirmed, Maya said. They've been monitoring Council communications for centuries. They're willing to share their technology in exchange for protection from Council expansion. The strategy took shape over the following days. Earth would not meet the Council head-on. That would be suicide against their superior numbers. Instead, humanity would fight an asymmetric war, striking critical infrastructure and disappearing before retaliation could arrive. Meanwhile, Project Exodus continued. Every day, thousands of civilians departed for the sanctuary worlds, while Earth's cities converted to military production. The planet's surface gradually transformed into a fortress, though everyone understood Earth itself might eventually be lost. What mattered was survival of the species and, ultimately, freedom from Council rule. 6 weeks later, the first Council warships entered the outskirts of the Sol system. Their formation was massive. Over 200 vessels arranged in the classic Council envelopment pattern. Admiral Zhang observed from the bridge of the EDF Indomitable. Predictable, he murmured. They still think we're fighting a conventional war. The Council's transmission arrived precisely on schedule, broadcast on all frequencies. Attention Earth forces. You are outmatched and surrounded. Surrender immediately and accept Council authority. Resistance will result in planetary sanctions. Zhang smiled thinly. Transmit our response. Throughout the Council fleet, communications officers received a single image, an ancient Earth symbol, a middle finger extended in defiance. What followed shocked even the most optimistic human strategists. As the Council fleet advanced toward Earth, proximity sensors triggered hidden minefields, not conventional explosives, but microscopic quantum disruptors that Earth had seeded throughout the system years before. Ship after Council ship found their drive systems failing as quantum fields collapsed, leaving them stranded in space. Phase 1 successful, reported Zhang's tactical officer. 68% of Council vessels affected. Begin Phase 2. From behind Mars and various asteroids, Earth's smaller, faster ships emerge. Rather than engaging the still operational Council warships, they targeted the disabled vessels, attaching boarding pods to their hulls. Council commanders watched in confusion as Earth forces systematically captured their stranded ships. This was unprecedented. The Council had always faced enemies who either fled or fought directly. This methodical harvesting of disabled vessels followed no known doctrine. "What are they doing?" demanded High Commander Excelsior aboard the Council flagship. His answer came 3 hours later when the captured Council ships reactivated, now under human control. Earth forces had not only boarded the vessels, but had managed to override their command systems. Impossible. Excelsior raged. Those systems are genetically keyed. But the impossible was happening before his eyes. The Council's own ships were now turning against them, using familiar tactics and signatures that confused their targeting systems. The battle for the Sol system ended not with Earth's destruction, but with a Council retreat. Of their original fleet, barely 40 vessels escaped, fleeing toward Council space to report the debacle. On Earth, there was no celebration. Everyone understood this was merely the opening move in a longer game. "They'll return with a larger force," Maya told the Security Council. "But we've gained time and resources, and demonstrated our capabilities," added Zhang. Psychological warfare is half the battle. The next phase unfolded over the following months. Earth forces, now augmented with captured Council technology, struck at isolated Council outposts and supply lines. The Outsider Alliance joined the conflict, attacking from different vectors to divide the Council's attention. Most devastating to the Council, however, was the information war. Using the data Maya had stolen, Earth revealed the Council's history of subjugation to the wider galactic community. Species that had accepted Council rule for centuries began questioning their overlords. Some openly rebelled. Others secretly aided Earth's campaign. 1 year after the Council's ultimatum, Maya returned to the crystalline spires, not as a supplicant diplomat, but as Earth's designated negotiator, backed by a coalition of independent worlds and former Council subjects. High Arbiter Zexalia, feathers now dulled with stress, faced her across the chamber where their conflict had begun. "You have caused incalculable damage," Zexalia accused. "Millennia of stability, undone in months." "You confuse stability with stagnation," Maya replied. "You feared change so much you became monsters to prevent it. We preserved peace. You preserved power. There's a difference." The terms Maya presented were not what anyone would have predicted a year earlier. Earth didn't seek the Council's destruction, merely its reformation. The 5 executive species would share power with a rotating body of representatives from all member worlds. Technology would be shared, not controlled. Military forces would be independent but cooperative. The alternative, Maya concluded, is continuation of a war you cannot win. Not because humans are inherently superior, but because freedom always fights harder than oppression. The Council delegates argued for days, but reality was inescapable. Their millennia-old system had been broken in a single year by a species they had dismissed as primitives. Worse, their own subject worlds were now in open revolt, inspired by Earth's example. When the new Galactic Charter was finally ratified, the ceremony was broadcast throughout known space. Maya, now humanity's first ambassador to the Reformed Council, sat beside representatives from dozens of newly independent worlds. High Arbiter Zexalia, required by the new charter to participate in the ceremony, approached Maya afterward. "You must be very satisfied," the avian being said, the translator unable to fully capture the bitterness in the tone. "This was never about satisfaction," Maya replied. "It was about survival. Yours as much as ours." "Explain." "Your council was dying long before we arrived. Systems that cannot adapt eventually collapse. By forcing change now, we've prevented a more catastrophic failure later." Zexalia considered this. "Perhaps, or perhaps you've merely replaced our stagnation with chaos." Maya smiled. "That's the thing about humans, Arbiter. Where you see chaos, we see possibility." As she looked out at the transformed council chamber, Maya reflected on how close they had come to a different outcome. Had the council approached Earth with genuine partnership rather than subjugation, had they recognized potential allies rather than threats, the past year of conflict might have been avoided. But perhaps it had been inevitable. Systems built on control will always fear those who value freedom. And when humanity walked away from the Council's ultimatum, the galaxy had learned a vital lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't a species that fights back, but one that simply refuses to be controlled. The moment humanity walked away, the galaxy as it had existed for millennia was doomed. But from that ending came the possibility of something better, a community of worlds united not by fear, but by shared purpose and mutual respect. And that, Maya thought, was worth fighting for.